Welcome to the Krish Marketing Podcast, your go-to resource for mortgage and real estate professionals as well as fellow marketers. Join your host, Krish Dokia, an award-winning Chief Marketing Officer at Kind Lending, LLC, bringing over 20 years of expertise in crafting successful marketing campaigns for billion-dollar organizations. Now sit back and relax while you listen to valuable insights and strategies to elevate your marketing game in the competitive world of real estate and mortgages.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Krish Marketing Podcast, where we talk everything marketing for our audiences, which are real estate agents, mortgage brokers, mortgage loan officers, and anyone that really geeks out on marketing and mortgage and real estate. So today we have an exciting guest, someone that I've known for some years now, maybe 4 or 5 years, Mr. Chad Horkan. Welcome to the show, Chad.
Thanks for having me, Krish.
You're very welcome. And you know what? It's my pleasure because, again, Chad and I over the years have geeked out on a lot of conversations around lead gen and automation and just overall marketing, because I think sales is marketing and marketing is sales. And I've said that on previous episodes as well. So who is Chad Horkan? Well, look, Chad is a mortgage branch manager in Pewaukee, Wisconsin. He leads the Horkan Group there with a number of loan officers, very successful in his business. He has not been in the mortgage industry his entire career, which I find fascinating because the first time I met him, he was already the top, a top producer. He's been consistently top 1% in the country. I've talked to technology vendors in the past. Zillow was one, and they're like, "Hey, do you know a guy named Chad?" And I was like, "Well, how do you know this guy?" He's like, "Oh, he's our number one guy." And we'll get into all of those things. But Chad, why don't you introduce yourself as well and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, thank you, Krish. I've been in the financial services side of the house here for mortgage for about 22 years now. So direct retail lending for 22 years, but I've been in other industries in the past. So right out of high school and during college, I worked for an airline, and I got to travel the world as one of my benefits, and that's a bug I have. So I love to travel the world. I've had other companies that I've owned, some small local stuff, and I just have that entrepreneur mindset that I'll never get rid of. And I think a lot of loan officers that have that built within them have one step ahead of everyone else, that you're just always thinking in that same light. Been a real estate investor for 29 years. So I own and manage my own real estate portfolio and continue to do that. And I think that keeps me in touch with what's going on with, my clients that are looking to purchase investment property.
Right.
But love where I'm at today, and continuing just to originate and take care of our clients in the field.
That is awesome. That's such a huge benefit to understand the real estate side of it. And I was on a conversation earlier this week where we were talking about that. It's like, well, it goes hand in hand. It is the marriage of the industry between real estate and mortgage. Of course, there's heavy regulations between the two that separate them. And I think that's a great thing as well. But when you understand those dynamics, and the mortgage finance side of it as well, it does help you as a lender or as a mortgage loan officer to help your consumers, right? Not by giving advice, but at least understanding their pain points from the other side. Let's talk about lead gen. Gosh, lead gen is it was for a long time a buzzword. I think AI kind of has owned that, but lead gen here, and I was on a conversation with a young man from Evocalize here recently, and we really dug deep into the lead gen loophole, right? And all the regulations that are going to be coming this summer around lead generation. And so tell me a little bit about your experience with lead generation, how you've used lead gen to be a part of your business, but not 100%, right? Like it's just part of how you build your business and the benefits of that. So yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. The word leads or buying leads is in my opinion, a toxic phrase in the industry, right? There's so much bad around it, and there's a lot of really poor quality leads. So when you see folks advertising, $50 a lead or $1 a lead, there's a reason there's a difference, right? And I am not a fan of 99.9% of the platforms or products that are out there of those. I don't, when I participate on the Zillow platform, and I've been, I think I'm approaching a decade on that platform.
Wow.
And as an individual loan officer, not maybe as a corporation or call center, but as an individual loan officer, I'm in their top 10 year over year as far as kind of a total scorecard, if you will. It's not about dollars spent. It's not about conversion, but it's about the feedback and the quality. Just like how you heard about it, I've had other people in the industry. They use me as a case study.
Yep.
They actually fly me out to Seattle to train their sales staff on how to sell to loan officers.
Wow. Okay.
And some of the notes I put down for today's call is, it's okay to say no. And you have to learn it's okay to say no in a lot of situations. But the platform that they provide, I think, has changed the way leads come through because of the quality of them. Now, they are more expensive. I'm not here to promote them, but just as an overall practice and technique, I've been able to solidify more relationships with fewer realtors and teams to take my partnerships much deeper. I want to work with 5% of the realtors out there. I want to work with the ones that are full-time, that care, that walk their clients out of a home, even if they want it, because they know there's problems with it. They're not about a commission check. They're about the right thing to do. That's the caliber of partners I want. And I've achieved. And I'm able to provide a quality lead back to them. And I have one rule: don't sell away. Never sell away. You got my back. Let's put bookends, and let's make sure this customer is surrounded by good service. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to say, I didn't understand that. We make it a very, there's no walls, there's no barriers, there's no judgment. Just we're here to help you. The lead generation, that when it comes in, everyone's got their own technique as to how they follow up or follow through or put them on a drip or a CRM. I am very much a different book than what a lot of people have out there. I try for the first 24 hours 3 times, and that's via text, email, and phone. And I'm done. I move on. If they don't want to talk, they don't want to talk, because they're hot at that point. Now, the only variable to that is if it's on holidays or it's, coming in our third shift. I get up at 2:00 in the morning to come in. So that's a different way to kind of approach things, but that's what my success has been. And we built a good part of our business around that and created new partners.
Well, let me ask you this. So a lead, the lead comes in, you've tried them, there's 3 opportunities. Do you do anything with that lead after that? Do you follow up in some kind of drip later on?
It does go into an automatic 12-month drip campaign. Okay. So they do hear from me, but I'm not pushing myself on them in any fashion.
Gotcha. I'll give you a great example of what happened to me this week. So Chad, I was looking at my homeowner's insurance coming out of my escrow. I'm like, man, this sucks. It's so high, right? It's Texas, and homeowner's insurance is just a whole different episode, right? Like it's so much going on in that world as well. So I filled this thing out online, and I probably got about 60 phone calls within minutes. And I decided that, USAA, who I'm with right now, is doing great on my homeowner's insurance compared to the rates quotes that I was getting. I'd already spent probably 2 or 3 hours on these calls. Process was super long. They just don't give you a quote, right? Like they want to talk to you and be friends. Like, I'm a type A, like I don't have time, right? And but they won't stop emailing, texting, phone. I regret it. The lead generation loophole that I was talking about earlier, that's going to solve a lot of that, right? Like there's, and again, we're going to see how it's going to play out, but this is going to mean that, a consumer would have to take action on who they want to be contacted by, which gives that deeper level and prevents 35 people, reaching out. Now, also, leads, the word leads we've given it over the past 10 years or whatever, a misnomer, right? Mm-hmm. Leads aren't just these things that come through a paid mechanism on online, whatever. A lead also is a referral.
That is
right?
correct.
How you treat it. And, the level, so, you call, you text, and but it's this human interaction. It's taking notes on that conversation in your CRM that, hey, when you do get a hold of them, hey, they're, single, married, and they live, they love sports. Like, you're going to take as much information down as possible.
Yeah, I do a little bit of research before I make that phone call.
Okay.
And I'm big on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to search the name.
Yep.
To search an email address. I'm going to search a phone number. I'm going to try and find them. So if the phone number area code isn't in my backyard, I'll look the area code up and see what area that they once probably lived in. And that'll help me make that connection on LinkedIn. Like, David Smith, that's pretty hard to find, right? So we're going to try and narrow this down. And if I think I found the person, it just leads into that conversation of mutual connections or an employer that they may have worked at or work at now, that there's a good chance. I mean, I have over 10,000 clients. There's a good chance I've got another customer or a friend that works there to help bridge that gap. If we're talking just this portion versus a referral, you want to take them, they put their information on the web. So they went from their desktop to the web, and then their stuff got shot out, and they're nervous, right? They don't know where it is. So when you can pronounce the hometown that they're in, it goes a long way, right? We have some funky towns in my area. So that pronunciation kind of takes that level of anxiety down. I also let them know that, hey, I know you filled this out online. I am local, and I'm the only person that's going to call you. So you don't have to worry about what you just went through, Krish, and have 50 phone calls. And that really takes their guard down.
Absolutely.
Process.
It's the 6 degrees of separation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all public information. It's at your fingertips if you're not able to use it. Now, again, like John Smith is going to be a lot harder to do than someone that has maybe slightly more unique name. There's some kind of social connection. If you can kind of gauge that there's some connections in common or a company in common or based on their home address, it's going to really help seal that deal. And that is social media at its best, honestly.
LinkedIn, Facebook, and there's a site called People, PIPL. I use those as cross-reference. And, I don't go deeper than that. I mean, that's enough information and database to find them.
And that's not just for, a lead could also be your own referral source as a mortgage professional. And learning more about that. I have a loan officer that's a coach on my son's lacrosse team. He doesn't have kids. He's never played lacrosse. And he uses it as an opportunity to network, right? That's his thing. There's maybe creepy as well, but there's a lot of folks that go out and do these out of the box things. And when I got to Kind, Chad, you and I talked about it as you were joining Kind, is, what the major attractor to this organization was the ability to think outside the box, not being compartmentalized by, preconceived notions of how you should market. And, even lead generation as a whole, whether the industry is changing it, whether the federal government is changing it, it's going to change, and you have to be able to adapt. Now, going into a little bit I want to talk about automation real quick. I know that we've got a time crunch because I don't know how long I'm going to last. I'm stuffy. I'm just kidding. But automation, Chad, in marketing, we can't escape AI, right? Again, like I said, it's the new buzzword that's taken over for lead gen for the moment. There's a lot of automation happening. There's robocalls happening, robo-texts that are fueled by AI. And I'm going to give you another example of something I experienced recently in the last couple of weeks. And so my previous church that I used to attend, right? They have all this technology, all this AI, and the folks that attend the church, whether you want to call them a leader or not, they're a client. They're they're being marketed to, right? They're like, hey, come to this service for this Easter service or whatever. And my wife and I used to serve at this particular church, and we've long since gone to another church, and which is fine. We didn't notify anyone like, hey, we're no longer coming here, right? But we got this robocall, right? Both my wife and I, that went, we didn't answer, so went to voicemail and said, hey, Krish, this is so-and-so. Look forward to seeing you. Hey, and wondering if you would be interested in serving this weekend for one of our services. And I thought to my wife, I was like, I can't imagine. And it was so lifelike. That's the problem. But it was so lifelike. It was this person that we know, and it sounded just like her. And I was like, there's no way that this person probably called so many people and left them the voicemail. Then my wife and I listened to the voicemails. It was exactly the same. Like she had it on her phone. I had it on mine. I was like, that's artificial intelligence, right? And there is a good time to do that kind of stuff, like maybe for prospects. For when you're prospecting and they've never heard your voice, or they've never had an opportunity to have that conversation, maybe, and you're in a position to apply that into your regimen of marketing, totally. But Chad, let me ask you, I think you're a very proficient marketer, right? A superstar marketer. Where would you add AI in that type of communication?
Well, I mean, that's one of the 800 million questions we have surrounding AI right now.
Yeah.
I'm researching on how to deploy that in my office, how to use it. I don't have answers yet. I'm still doing a lot of my research with it, but it is scary, number one.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It is absolutely realistic. Mm-hmm. Sounds like you. And you need to be careful how you deploy that. You don't want people to take the personalization that you and I are having on a phone call and think that let me clarify or give you a better example. I used to send letters out to the clients.
Right.
And I got sick of signing my name. Mm-hmm. So I went and had my signature and a stamp. Mm-hmm. And I got so much backlash because it wasn't personal.
I bet. Same thing with the White House president letters, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so you have to be careful when AI replaces you or doesn't become that personal interaction. Mm-hmm. If it's just an update on something or a comment or a follow-up, mm-hmm. Sure. But how we deploy that specifically in our industry, it's the personalization that I like him, so I'm going to go with him. Mm-hmm. Right? You have to have that portion in the trust because we're dealing typically with the largest transaction they've done in their life. 6 mm-hmm. figures, 7 figures potentially. And we want to make it safe and sound and clean and comfortable for those clients. So mm-hmm. The audience is still out as to how I'm going to deploy this, but it will be in very small increments because you have to keep that personalization there.
Absolutely. Personalization is 100%. Another example, I keep getting these business cards on my front door about cutting my tree down, right? And maybe not hundreds, but a couple a week, right? One guy wrote a post-it note. It was like, hey, I see your tree is getting kind of big. My name is Tamayo. The roots are now messing up with your sidewalk. It's like, okay, he did some analysis. He wrote it on a post-it note. I called him, got the tree cut down, right? So that's the, this is after 4 years of people sending me these business cards. So it's that level of personalization. With the minute you take a different approach to it, it's when it starts paying off. Maybe not right away. All right. So while we're deep in this conversation, Chad, I could probably talk to you about leads and automation for days and days. Tell me a little bit about you as a branch manager, how you're building your team, the community you serve, and just really tell us a little bit about your habits as always being ranked number one originator nationally.
Yeah, I'm really picky on who I bring in to my office or on my team. I'd rather pass on 99 people to find the right feed for my office, at least. And one bad seed can cause havoc in the entire production line.
Absolutely.
So you have to have quality. I will tell you, for everyone in my team, there's only one person that's come from the industry, and he worked for me almost 20 years. But everyone else, former chiropractor, former car salesman, former life insurance sales, former bank teller, former human resource officer. And the common thread with all of them, they're good numbers, they're good listeners. They understand math and they can hear people. I'll teach you the rest. So in building that foundation, here's the questions to ask, and you get routine. We have an intake form. Make sure you ask this from top to bottom. I want this completely filled out. A file can't move past you to processing in the system without that completed. Just good quality in, quality out. So it doesn't matter what industry they're coming from. It's just that, obviously, with the examples I gave, that's all over the spectrum. It's just good listeners, good hard work, and they're not afraid to ask questions with it. This isn't a instant paycheck gratification day one. You got to work hard, but you build it up one at a time and just keep going.
Yep. Our president, Jim Linane, and then, our CEO founder, Glenn, I absorb a lot of what they say because it's just so, I was like, did you guys read that or did you just come up with that? Right. Like it's so, what you just said, right? Listening. I literally just listened to an entire podcast about the difference between listening and hearing. And it's like, I hear you. Do you hear me? Or are you listening? Listening is such an important part of that communication. It's not just always talking. Like I'm a talker. You know that about me. I love to talk. But do I listen? And I think that's super important. And so your team continues to make strides and break records and things like that here at Kind. So we really appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on in such short notice. I think we put this whole episode together in a matter of days, I think.
Yep.
I've got a wonderful team behind me, and you do as well. And I'm just so happy to have the opportunity to work with you again. Since we hail from the Stearns lending days.
We do. We got a good crew of core people here.
We do, definitely. And so we're excited about the future of the company, excited to have you on this team, the Horkan Group. We will link, Chad's information if you want to connect with him. And if you want to ask him for some really cool swag, the man is Mr. Swag. He's got a lot of cool stuff. Thank you again. I don't think I ever publicly thanked you for the pens and T-shirts. And I think it was koozie or mug or something.
Yeti.
Was it? Yeah, it was. I have it in my car right now. But yeah, he's got the cool stuff. Check him out on social media. Connect with him on LinkedIn. He's as long as I've known him, he's always been open to dialogue and conversations to answer questions. Right. So he is a pillar of this industry. So thank you again, Chad. And we like to end the podcast with a little quirky thing I like to say, which is stay curious and keep marketing.
That's awesome. Thanks for having me.